A very good morning, dear students. Today I would like to take a new chapter for class 7, and the chapter is chapter number 8, Europe Resources. So I do hope you will have your textbooks opened as I explain the chapter. Please do follow as I go through the lesson. So Europe Resources. Now we know that Europe forms a peninsula with water on three sides. So Europe is basically a peninsula with water on three sides, except for the eastern part where it connects Asia. We have the Arctic Ocean in the northern part of Europe. The Arctic Ocean is found in the north. Then we have the Mediterranean Sea in the south, which separates it from the African continent. And then the Atlantic Ocean is in the west. So if you see Europe, as I said, it's a peninsula with water on three sides, the Arctic Ocean in the north, the Mediterranean Sea in the south, and then the Atlantic Ocean in the west. But if you go to the eastern part, it connects, or rather it is separated from Asia by the Ural Mountains and the Ural River. So on the eastern side, it is basically separated from Asia by the Ural Mountains and the Ural River. If you see its latitude, if you see the latitude and the longitude, let's see here. Europe forms a peninsula with water on three sides except where it connects Asia. The Arctic Ocean in the north, the Mediterranean Sea in the south, and the Atlantic Ocean in the west. It is separated from Asia by the Ural Mountains and the Ural River in the east. Now if you see the latitude and longitude of Europe, it is located between 35 degrees north and 73 degrees north latitude, placing it entirely in the northern hemisphere, and its longitude, the line which runs from north to south, is called as longitude. So the longitudinal extent is from 25 degrees west to 65 degrees east. So most of Europe lies in the temperate zone. So we can see here it is located in the northern hemisphere, and then some parts of Europe is in the western hemisphere, and some major part of Europe is in the eastern hemisphere. Okay, now let's see. Europe also contains many peninsula within it. So Europe also contains many peninsula within it, giving it the longest coastline. See, when compared to other countries, or when compared to other continents, important water bodies in Europe are the North Sea, the White Sea, the Baltic Sea, the English Channel, Gulf of Bothnia, and Finland. So we can just see here, see, we have the North Sea, the White Sea, the Baltic Sea, the English Channel, the Gulf of Bothnia, and Finland. Europe also has many islands, the most important one being the British Isles, the Iceland, Greek islands of Crete, Sardinia, and Sicily in the south. So this is a small introduction on the continent of Europe, its location, the water bodies that surround Europe, then the land boundary between Asia and Europe, and then its latitudinal and longitudinal extent, and also the water bodies of Europe, which we just discussed right now. So let us go into the physical aspects of Europe. What are the physical features of Europe? The continent can be divided into the following physical divisions. We have the northwestern highlands, the North European plain, okay. Then we have the central uplands and the Alpine system. So you can just look at the map here. See, we have the northwestern highlands in the northern part here, right on top. Then we have the Alpine system, rather near the just above the northern part of the Mediterranean Sea, Alpine system. Then we have the central uplands. Beyond the Alpine system, we have the central uplands a little bit further up, and then we have the North European plain, which is in the central, major part of it is in the central part of Europe. So these are the different physical divisions of Europe. The North-Western Highlands, the Alpine System, then we have the North European Plain and the Central Uplands. So now we're going to do the physical features one by one. So the first one that we are doing right now is the Northwestern Highlands. So this mountain stretches from Urals of Russia to Britain. It covers the Scandinavian mountains of Norway and Sweden, the highlands of Scotland, Ireland and Wales. So this is in the northern part of Europe. See, the Scandinavian regions. They are made up of old crystalline rocks, and over time they have become lower as a result of glacial erosion and weathering. That means once upon a time they were very high mountains, but because of the erosion caused by the glaciers and weathering, the height of the mountains have been reduced and they have lowered. The peaks have become round in shape as of weathering and erosion. However, in the Scandinavian regions, the peaks are still high. Glacial erosions have resulted to the formation of fjords, which are long and narrow inlets of sea that is found in Norway. So the glacial erosion has mostly resulted to the formation of fjords in the coastal areas. These are formed in the coastal areas. So because of the glacial erosion, fjords are formed, especially in Norway. And now what are fjords? These are long and narrow inlets of the sea. Long and narrow inlets of the sea. So this is the northern, highlands. See, Northwestern Highlands. See, these are the mountains. Once upon a time they were very high and tall, but because of the glacial erosion, the height has been reduced, except in some northern part of the region. Now, as I was telling, we have plenty of fjords in the coastal areas, especially in Norway. Now, what are fjords? See, fjords are basically long and narrow inlets. You can see long, narrow inlets of the water into the land. See, the water is going right into the land because of erosion. These are called as fjords. So, long and narrow inlets of the sea into the land are called fjords, and it is found mostly in Norway. Okay. So that is a little bit about the Northwestern Highlands. Now let us go to the second one, that is the North European Plain. Now the North European Plain goes like this. The south of the mountain stretches from the Ural Mountains in the east to Atlantic Ocean in the west are the Great Plains. So south of the mountains, stretching from the Ural Mountains in the east to the Atlantic Ocean in the west are the Great Plains. So this is the area where the Great Plains, North European Plains extend. Okay, from the Ural Mountains in the east to Atlantic Ocean in the west are the Great Plains. The plains are not fully flat but have rolling hills and mountains. So these plains are not very flat. They are gently rolling hills and mountains. Rivers originate from the mountains flowing to different areas in the plain. Most of the plains have excellent soil for agriculture. Example, the steppes. So here in the North European plains, we mostly have we mostly have grasses because of the scanty rainfall. Because of the less rainfall, we only have grasses, and because only grasses are found, these areas are called as grasslands. And the example of the grasslands that are found here are the steppes. See, steppes is an example of the grasslands of Europe. So we can see these are long extensive lands. See, long extensive lands where we don't have much trees is because of the less rainfall that is received here, and because of which only grasses grow. And these areas become very important agricultural regions as well. Okay, so that is the North European Plain. Now let's go to the next one, that is the Central Uplands. Now further to the south of the Great Plains, if you go down below the South Great Plains, lie the Central Uplands, which consists of plateaus, valleys and mountains that are formed from old rocks and are not very high. So the Central Uplands also are basically the regions where we have plenty of valleys, plateaus and mountains, and which are mostly formed out of old rocks but which are not very high. They extend from the Atlantic coast of Spain through France, Germany and Poland. There are some well-known plateaus which are the remains of much older mountains that once existed in Europe, known as the Hercynian system. So see, these systems of uplands are said to be the remains of much older mountains system that once existed in Europe long before the formation of the Alpine system. These older mountains were known as the Hercynian system. So this is how we have the central uplands and the region where it extends to. So we can just see the central uplands, how it is. Mainly we have plateaus, then we have valleys and some mountains, but which are not very high. Okay, then we go to the last one, the last physical feature here, that is the Alpine system. Now the Alpine system, traveling still further, if you still go further down to the south, one finds the Alpine system, which are chains of young fold mountains stretching from the Atlantic coast in the west to the Caspian Sea in the east. In the middle lies the famous Alps, whose highest peak is Mount Blanc at a height of 4,807 meters. Europe's highest peak is, however, Elburz, which is 5,630 meters in the Caucasus mountain. The mountains in these systems are very steep and high, which runs parallel to each other. The tall mountains, which act as barriers in the past, have tunnels through them, making trade and movement of people much easier between different countries. So here we can see the Alpine mountain system are basically chains of young fold mountain. They are very young mountains which have been formed recently, and there are plenty of ranges running parallel to each other. That's why they are called as chains of fold mountain. They are called as chains of fold mountain. They stretch from the Atlantic coast in the west to the Caspian Sea in the east. Okay, so here what happens is, because we had tall mountains here, they acted as barriers between countries. But now what they have done is they have made tunnels through these mountains, which has made trade, commerce and movement of people very easy between different countries. So we can just see an example there, the range there, the Alps. Okay, these are the ranges that are there, snow covered mountains which are very high in the Alpine system. Now let us go and see a little bit about the rivers as well. The rivers of Europe have resulted in fertile plains that are important for agriculture. This has a huge role to play in the development of the continent. The excellent system of waterways, the canals and the navigability of these rivers has led to well-developed towns and cities on the banks of these rivers. They link countries and cities and help transportation and communication. So rivers are also called the lifeline of nation. It's so very important, especially in the ancient times. In the ancient times, it played a very important role. The movement of people, the movement of goods were mainly transported by the rivers. So it played a very important role as well in the development of the nation as well. Okay, so now let's see some of the examples. Volga is the longest river, falls into the Caspian Sea, and Danube, the second longest river, falls into the Black Sea. River Rhine is the most important river and the busiest river in all of Europe. Seine is the only river which empties itself into the English Channel or canal. Okay, so we can see the rivers of Europe there. It may be slightly small, but we have the different rivers of Europe there, major rivers. We can see there, see, Danube is there, Dnieper is there, Seine is there, Volga is there, you can see Rhine, see, Po, see, these are the different rivers that are in Europe. Now let's go further to see the lakes. Melting snow of the glaciers have led to the formation of lakes. Ladoga is the largest freshwater lake in Europe. Finland is known as the land of 1,000 lakes. It has more than 50,000 lakes. So see, Finland has more than 50,000 lakes. Caspian Sea is considered a lake as it is surrounded by land on all sides. Though we term it as a sea, but Caspian Sea is a lake as it is surrounded by land on all sides. Okay, so We have lakes as well, and these lakes are mainly formed because of the melting glaciers in Europe, and Ladoga being the largest freshwater lake in Europe. So a small glimpse of the lakes that are found in Europe. Okay, now let us see the climate now, climate of Europe. Now, most of Europe experiences mild and pleasant climate with moderate rainfall. Long cold winters and short and cool summers are experienced in northern European countries. Summers and winters is more severe in the east as compared to the west, and the western part of Europe have more rainfall than the eastern part. So if you see the overall climatic feature of Europe, if you go to the northern part, it's very cold. The winters are very cold and short, and the summers are rather cool. Then if you go to the western part, see, summers and winters is more severe in the east. So if you go to the eastern part, summers and winters are more severe. That means summers are very hot, winters are very cold compared to the western side. And the western part of Europe has more rainfall compared to the eastern part. So let us study the factors which affect the climate of Europe. The first factor that affects the climate of Europe is the latitudinal extent. We know that some areas are there which are in the lower latitude. So since they are in the lower latitude, they'll have a higher temperature. The temperature will be higher, hotter. But as you go high up, as the latitude goes on decreasing, as you go higher and higher up the latitude towards the northern side, as the latitude goes on increasing towards the northern side, what happens is the temperature starts to decrease. It gets colder and colder and colder. So that is how latitudinal extent plays a very important role in determining the climate of Europe. Those places which are in the lower latitude have a hotter climate, and those places which are in the higher latitude have a colder climate. The second one which affects the climate of Europe is the effect of the ocean currents. Now ocean currents also play a very important role. How? For instance, if we have warm ocean current passing through the coastal areas of a particular region of Europe, the areas where the warm ocean current waters pass by, there the temperature will slightly increase, because the water is slightly warmer, the air above the water is warm, and therefore the temperature of that region also will be slightly higher. But if we have cold waters passing through a particular area in the coastal region, what happens is, since the water is cold, the air above the water is also colder, and the temperature in the surrounding regions wherever this cold water passes by will also slightly be colder or lesser. So that is how ocean currents also change the climatic condition of Europe. Then influence of the westerlies. See, we know that the westerlies bring a lot of rainfall, especially to the western side of Europe. So because it brings a lot of rainfall to the western part of Europe, these regions have more rainfall compared to the eastern side. And then the fourth one is the absence of mountains, leading to rain-bearing winds reaching far into the interiors of the land. Because there are no mountains to block the winds go right into the interiors of the land, giving rainfall in the interiors of the continent. So these are the factors which affect the climate of Europe. Now let's see the first climatic type of Europe, that is the Arctic or the Tundra type. The first, climatic region experienced in in Europe. The different types of climatic conditions experienced in Europe. The first one we have here is the Arctic or Tundra type. Now the northern areas of Sweden, where does it experience? The northern areas of Sweden, Norway, Russia and Finland lie in the frigid zone within the Arctic Circle. Summers are brief and cool, while winters are long and severe. So here, see, it's in the northernmost part of Europe. That's what we are talking about, the Arctic or the Tundra type, which is the coldest region in Europe. Now it's found in the countries of Norway, Sweden, Russia and Finland. And winters are very cold, and they are very long, say more than 9 months of snowfall they receive. Summers are short, very short and cool. Now we have trees like coniferous trees growing to some extent there, but mostly we have mosses and lichens which are found here. Animals like walrus, whales, polar bears, sables, reindeers, Arctic fox are found in this region. So this is how the Arctic vegetation looks like. The tundra or the Arctic vegetation looks like. See, mostly mosses and lichens are found, mostly. And if you go slightly to the lower regions, then we'll have some amount of coniferous trees being found there. Now, let's go to the second type of climate that is experienced in Europe is the subarctic type or the taiga type. So the second one we have here is the subarctic or the taiga type. This climate is experienced in the southern part of tundra, stretching from Norway, Finland, Sweden, and Russia. So it is found in the lower region below the tundra type. It is found below the region where tundra type is found, or the Arctic is found below the Arctic region. That is the taiga type or the subarctic type. It's found in the southern parts of Norway, Finland, Sweden, and Russia. Winters last for more than a half a year, say around 6 months the winters last, which is cold, and summers are short but slightly warmer. If you see in comparison to the Arctic type, see in the Arctic what happens, the winters are more than 9 months, very cold and more than 9 months, and they receive heavy snowfall, and summers are short but cool. But here winter lasts for about 6 months and summers are short but they are warmer. It is covered with evergreen trees like pine, that means coniferous trees, see, pine, spruce, fir, and cedar. And we have animals like fur-bearing animals like lynx, mink, sables, squirrels are found in this region. So this is how the taiga type looks like. We can see a lot of coniferous trees, see there in the region, see. And the reason why the trees are cone shaped, see, can you see the shape of the tree? See, on top it's slightly pointed, and as you come down it goes on spreading. The base becomes broader and broader. This is because so that the trees can survive in the cold conditions where snowfall takes place, so that the snow can slide off the tree. See, that is why the trees are shaped like a cone. See, triangle shape is because the snow can fall down very easily, slide down the tree. When it gets very heavy, the snow falls down or slides down, whereby the trees branches do not break. So that is why these type of trees are only found in the areas where snow falls, cone shaped trees. Now the third type of climatic condition that is experienced in Europe is the continental type. Okay, so hot and short summers with light rain and long cold winters are the hallmark of East European nation and Russia. These regions experience extremes of climate. Due to the scanty rainfall, here only grasses grow, which are known as the steppes. See, the regions are very popular for agriculture, barley, wheat, and rye, and are grown extensively. Animals like wolves and antelopes are found here. So in the continental type, basically we have hot and short summers with light rainfall. That means rainfall is very less, and because rainfall is less in these regions, trees do not grow, but rather only grasses grow. That is why these areas are also called as the grasslands. And like I told you previously, the grasslands of Europe are called the steppes. Now these regions have become very, very important agricultural regions, and large scale agriculture is practiced here. Extensive agriculture is practiced here in the grasslands, where a single crop is grown. Single crop is grown in the huge fields. Machines are used, see, because the fields are so big. Human beings can't work, animals cannot work. It will take a lot of time. Therefore, machines are used to do all the work. See, in these large farms where extensive agriculture is practiced, and then crops like wheat, barley, and rye are grown. See, so you can just see the steppes once again here, the grasslands. Then we go to the next one, that is the marine west coast type. The countries in the northwest of the continent come under this influence. This includes British Isles, Belgium, Norway, and Denmark. The warm westerly winds bring rainfall all year round. Summers are warm and winters are cool. These areas experience a moderate temperature due to the nearness to the sea. Deciduous forests are found, and animals like squirrels, fox, rabbits, deers, and wolves are also found here. So marine west coast type. Now if you go to the coastal areas, mostly what happens is in the coastal areas we have a moderate type of temperature. It's not very hot and not very cold. It is because of the influence of the land and sea breeze, which moderates the temperature, which balances the temperature. That is why most of the coastal areas have a moderate temperature, equable temperature. It's not very hot and not very cold. It is because of the influence of the sea breeze and the land breeze. So here the temperatures are moderate, and the westerlies play a very important role because here it constantly brings a lot of rainfall to the region. Okay, and animals, if you see, we have animals like squirrels, foxes, then rabbits, deers, and wolves. Okay, now we go to the next one, that is the Mediterranean type. Now, the areas that come under this influence are the southern European countries like Portugal, Italy, Greece, southern France, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Croatia, and Albania. Summers are hot and dry, while winters are cool with moderate rainfall. In order to survive during the hot summers, the trees and plants have long roots, waxy leaves, and thick barks to prevent transpiration. Citrus fruits like lemon, orange, and grapes are found here. Birds, goats, and sheep are found here. Mostly we have domesticated animals that are found in the Mediterranean region. Now, one important characteristics we have to keep in mind of the Mediterranean region is that the summers are hot, summers are dry and hot, but winters they have rainfall. Winters they have rainfall. So this is a very important characteristics of the Mediterranean type. Hot and dry summers with moderate rainfall during the winter time. Now what happens is, because there's not much rainfall during the summertime, the trees that are found there, the plants that are found there have long roots. The trees have long roots, see, waxy leaves, and thick barks to prevent transpiration or loss of water. See, that means if the tree has more leaves, more water will evaporate through the process of transpiration. See, if the barks are not thick, see, again more water will be lost. That is why, because the Mediterranean regions have less rainfall, or they have a long duration where rainfall is not received, because of which the trees need to survive. So in order to survive, the trees have adapted themselves in such a way that we have long roots. The trees have long roots, they have waxy leaves and thick barks, so that it prevents transpiration. That means it prevents the loss of water from the plants, from the tree leaves, from the tree, whereby it can even withstand and survive in the dry conditions, because most of the rainfall is received during the winter time, and that also moderate rainfall, not very high rainfall, but rather moderate rainfall. And in the Mediterranean region, we mostly have fruits that are grown there, citrus fruits like lemon, orange, and grapes, citrus fruits. And animals are mostly domesticated, like goats, then birds are also found there, but domesticated like goats, sheep are found in this region. So a small glimpse of the Mediterranean type of vegetation here. See, trees are not very tall, see, but these trees have long roots which can go really deep into the ground to absorb water. Okay, now the next one we're going to do is the desert type of climate. Now the interiors and the eastern part of Europe, where do we have deserts? The interiors and the interior parts of Europe experience hot summers and cold winters. Very low rainfall, extremely hot summers and cold winters are experienced here. The areas extend from Caspian Sea to the Ural Mountains. It's found rather in the eastern part of Europe. In the interiors means right inside the continent Europe. These areas are found in the interiors of Europe and mostly in the eastern part of Europe towards Asia. We have the desert type of climate, where it's very hot summers and cold winters with very less rainfall. So you can just see the picture of how the desert conditions are, the vegetations are. Okay, now let's go to the resources now. We're coming slightly back. Let us see the resources now. Europe is one of the most developed continent in the world because of the abundant natural resources, climatic conditions, and hard-working, resourceful people. Europe is one of the most developed continents in the world because of its abundant natural resource, climatic condition, and hard-working, resourceful people. That means the continent is very well developed because it is It has a lot of resources. The people are very hardworking, and the climatic conditions are also slightly favorable, because of which the continent is so well developed. Now let's see the first one, that is the agricultural resources. The first one which we have is the agricultural resources. So agriculture is carried out in both intensive and extensive method. Intensive farming is done in the Mediterranean region and the populated areas. Extensive farming is done on the Great Plains of Europe, where the population is less. The extensive farming is practiced in the steppe grasslands using machines instead of human labor, and what is say machines. So extensive farming basically means where machines are used instead of human labor, and we have single crop growing in these big fields. Like for instance, we have the crops like wheat and so on. See, cash crops as well as food crops are grown, and even fruits are also grown in this region, in the continent. So we can just see how the extensive field looks like. See, we can see the extensive field there, where large scale agriculture is practiced. Now in these fields what happens is machines are used. See, human labor will not be possible to cultivate this land. It's so big. Machines will have to be used, and they grow a same single crop on these big fields. They don't grow many crops at a time, they just grow a single crop at a time. Okay, these are called as extensive farming, and this is mostly done in the grasslands of Europe, that is in the steppes region. Animal rearing, little bit we'll see about animal rearing as well. Animal rearing is done in areas of mixed farms. Cattle are reared for both dairy products and meat. Sheep and goats are reared in southern and eastern Europe, drier parts of the Mediterranean region, British Isles and Balkan countries for meat, milk and wool. So animal industry is also a very popular industry. It's a big industry. Animals are kept mainly for their milk and milk products, and their meat as well. And see, we have sheep and goats which are reared in the southern part of Europe, the eastern part of Europe, and the drier parts of Mediterranean. And then we have the British Isles, Balkan and the Balkan countries for meat, milk and wool. So, and the animal industry, as I was saying, is also a very big industry. Now let us go to the forest resources now. The forest cover in Europe has decreased from 80% to 30%. This is due to the growth of population. Forest resources come under the Tiger Belt in Norway, Sweden, Russia and Finland. Wood, which is soft and hard, is used for the manufacturing of paper, furniture, turpentine, paints, rayon and other synthetic fibers and resins. Trees like larch, pine, spruce, cedar, fir, oak, ash and willow trees are found here. So here again, if you see at one point of time Europe had almost 80% of the region under forest cover, but then now it's only 30%. This is mainly due to the increase in the population. See, when more people are there, they need more areas for building settlements, for turning it into agricultural fields, for using it for commercial purpose, to set up markets, to construct roads, because of which what happens, the forest cover decreases. So in Europe also the forest cover has decreased drastically because of the growth in the population. Water resource and fishing of Europe. Now there is no shortage of water in Europe. The fishing industry in Europe is highly developed. The shallow waters and the warm Atlantic drift are perfect for fishing. The Dogger Bank and the Great Fisher Banks are important fishing grounds. Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Netherlands, Germany, France, UK, Spain and Portugal are the main fishing countries. So Europe also has a similar big industry, that is the fishing industry, which is mostly practiced in the coastal regions, the Dogger Banks and the Great Fisher Banks, where huge amount of fishes are caught. Now the reason why it's so is because there maybe we have plenty of planktons being found there, and planktons are the food for fishes. So where there's food, the fishes will come to eat, and therefore these regions have become very, very important fishing regions. And the fishing that is done also there nowadays is of modern standard. It's not like it's done in the ancient times. Now the vessels go to the ocean and seas and stay there for almost 15-20 days or 1 month or so, and all the most major part of the processing is done in the ship itself. It's highly mechanized, so the fish industry has highly developed compared to what it was in the past. So coming back again to the last part here, we have minerals, and we know that, see, minerals that are found in Europe are also of huge abundance. We have a lot of minerals that are found in Europe, and they have also been very extensively utilized, and because of which the continent has become so well developed. But but here we have to keep in mind is that the distribution of minerals are not the same. All the countries do not have the same amount of minerals, the same quantity of minerals, and the same type of minerals. The distribution of minerals are not even. Okay, so let us very fast look into the different types of minerals that are found there. The first one we have is coal, which is found in Ukraine, UK, Germany, Poland, Russia. Then we have it's the main source of power, coal. Then we have iron ore, which is mainly used for iron and steel industry, and is found in UK, Ukraine, Belgium, France. Then we have petroleum, which is also another source of power. Then we have zinc, which is used for the production of petroleum. Then we have lead, which is used for manufacturing of storage batteries and pipes. Also apparatus for X-rays. It's found in Belgium, France, Germany, Poland. And then we have bauxite, mainly found in Austria, France, Germany, Italy. And sulfur, it's found in Urals, France, Germany, Italy, and is used in the manufacturing of pig iron, rubber industry, tires and paints. And then we have potash, which is found in France, Germany, Poland, and is used in medicines, salt, baking powder and fireworks. So this brings us to the end of this chapter. I have tried to cover as much as possible in this chapter, but please go through the video a couple of times, and then after that please do read your chapter, and after reading your chapter please go and attempt the exercise that is there behind, especially exercise A, B and C. Okay, so till then, do study well, take care of yourselves and be safe. Thank you all so much.